Rain splashed against the taxi window as it stopped in front of the old brick house. Linda Harris opened the door, stepped out and froze. There were her suitcases, 4 of them, lined up perfectly on the sidewalk like they were waiting for a bus. Linda blinked in confusion, then looked at the house she had called home for 35 years. She thought maybe there was a mistake. Maybe someone else's bags were there. But no. The red suitcase with the green ribbon on the handle, that was hers. The blue one with the tiny duck sticker, hers too. She took slow steps toward the bags, her heart pounding louder with each one. And then she saw it. Note. Folded neatly and stuck under the handle of her biggest suitcase. With shaking fingers, she pulled it out. The rain had made the ink run a little, but the sharp, slanted handwriting was still clear. If you want to stay here, we have the garage. Your loving daughter-in-law. Linda's chest felt tight. Her breath caught in her throat. For a moment, she couldn't even move. She just stood there, the wind tugging at her coat, the paper shaking in her hand. The driver rolled down his window. "Ma'am, everything okay?" "No," Linda whispered. "No, it's not." She pulled out her phone and called the bank. Her voice trembled as she gave her name and account number. "I need to check the last mortgage payment on 237 Willow Lane," she said. A moment later, the woman on the phone replied, "Yes, ma'am. We received your payment of $1,867 just 4 days ago." Linda closed her eyes. The pain inside her chest spread like wildfire. So it was true. They had kicked her out. Even though she was still paying for the house. Even though she had raised her son Ryan inside those walls. Even though she had let him and his wife, Chelsea, take the house 2 years ago after her husband died. "I'm the one still paying," she whispered to herself. "I never stopped." The rain began to fall harder. Linda pulled her coat tighter and reached down to grab the suitcase handles. But her hands were too cold, too numb. She looked up at the windows. The lights were on. They were inside. And she was out. Tears mixed with rain on her cheeks as she dragged her suitcases one by one toward the garage. The garage door was unlocked. Inside it was dark and smelled like dust and old paint. In the corner, someone had placed a small mattress on the floor. A lamp sat next to it. And on a pile of boxes was a big label written in thick black marker. "Mom's stuff." Linda collapsed onto the mattress, her hands trembling. Her bones ached from the cold. Her heart ached more. She pulled her phone back out and scrolled to Susan's number. Susan had been her best friend since high school. Someone who never judged, never turned away, and always answered. "Susan," Linda said when the call connected. Her voice cracked. "They threw me out." "What?" "They left my bags outside. A note said I could stay in the garage. But I've still been paying the mortgage." There was a short pause. "I'm coming to get you," Susan said. "Right now. And I'm bringing Brian with me." Brian was Susan's nephew, a young lawyer who had helped Linda once before with paperwork. He was smart, gentle, and didn't talk down to her like some lawyers did. 30 minutes later, Susan's white SUV pulled up. Linda stepped out of the garage holding one small suitcase. The others could wait. Susan ran to her and wrapped her in a warm, strong hug. "Oh, honey. You must be frozen." Linda's voice was barely a whisper. "I don't understand. How could Ryan do this to me?" Brian helped carry her bag and held an umbrella over her as they walked to the car. "Tell me everything," he said gently. In Susan's living room, with a hot cup of tea in her hands, Linda told them what happened. From the minute she stepped out of the taxi to finding the note and sleeping in the garage. Brian listened carefully, then leaned forward. "So you gave them the house 2 years ago, legally signed it over?" Linda nodded slowly. "After Thomas died. They said they'd take care of it. Said they'd take care of me." "And yet you've still been paying the mortgage?" he asked. "Every month. Quietly. I didn't want them to feel burdened. I just wanted peace." Brian rubbed his chin. "That might count as an informal agreement. It's not nothing. If you've been paying and they knew about it, we may have a case. You could recover some of the money you put in." Maybe even more. Susan put a gentle hand on Linda's knee. But before anything legal, maybe you should talk to Ryan. One last chance. To see if he'll make this right. Linda stared down at her tea. Did she still believe her son had a heart? Or had Chelsea turned it cold? The next morning, Linda stood in front of the house again. But this time she didn't have suitcases. She had strength. She was wearing her favorite coat, the blue one with the sunflower button. Her silver hair was tied neatly. In one hand she held her phone. In the other, the bank receipt showing her mortgage payment. She rang the doorbell. Ding. A few moments passed. The door opened and Chelsea stood there. She wore a sleek bathrobe and had a cup of coffee in her hand. Her eyes narrowed. "Oh, you're back," Chelsea said, not moving aside. "I need to speak to Ryan," Linda said, calm but firm. Chelsea took a slow sip from her mug. "He's busy. We didn't think you'd come back after last night." "I want to speak to my son," Linda repeated. A minute later, Ryan walked to the door. He looked like he had just woken up. His hair was messy, and he had his phone in hand. "Mom," he said with a fake smile. "Look, this doesn't have to be messy. We just need more space and—" Linda cut him off. "I want to know why you did it." Ryan blinked. "What do you mean?" "You put my bags outside. You left a note like I was a stranger. And all while I was still paying the mortgage. Every single month." Ryan looked at Chelsea, then back at his mother. "Look, Mom," he said slowly. "You gave us the house. You signed it over. You said you wanted us to have a future here. And I gave you that," Linda replied. "But I never stopped paying. I helped keep this house going. And you both knew it." Chelsea folded her arms. "You chose to pay. We didn't ask." Linda shook her head. "Don't play games. You knew. And now what? You're kicking me out so you can sell the house." Ryan shifted uncomfortably. "We were thinking about it, yes. Oakwood Hills has great schools, and we'd get more space." "You were going to sell the house while I was still paying the mortgage?" she asked. Neither of them answered. Chelsea finally said, "You're getting older. We thought a senior home would be better for you. More comfortable." Linda stared at them. "You mean out of your way?" Ryan sighed. "Don't be dramatic. We were trying to help." "No," Linda said. "You were trying to push me out. Quietly. Coldly. Like I was some burden." "You gave us the house," Chelsea said sharply. "It's ours. You don't get to come back and act like the victim now." Linda pulled the bank receipt from her pocket and held it up. "You see this? I've paid nearly $22,000 since you got the deed. I didn't stop because I believed in family. But family doesn't treat people like this." Chelsea scoffed. "You want us to pay you back?" Linda shook her head. "No. I want you to know I've stopped paying. The bank will come after you now. Not me." That made them freeze. Ryan stepped forward, suddenly nervous. "Wait. What? You can't just stop." "I already did," Linda said. "The bank will call you next month. Not me." Chelsea's face turned pale. "But we have plans. If our credit drops." Linda turned around. "That's not my problem anymore." She walked away without another word, each step feeling stronger than the last. That afternoon, Linda passed by Rosie's Cafe, a small place with pink flowers painted on the windows. She had once worked there during college. Now there was a sign taped to the door. "Help wanted, part-time server." She stared at it for a long time. Her hands were still steady. Her legs still strong. Her heart bruised but not broken. She pushed open the door and stepped inside. A bell above the door jingled. The warm smell of coffee and toast greeted her. A young woman behind the counter looked up. "Hi. Can I help you?" Linda smiled gently. "I saw the sign. Is the job still open?" The woman's eyes lit up. "Yes. Do you have experience?" Linda gave a small chuckle. "A long time ago. But I'm a fast learner." Within 15 minutes, she had filled out a form, and the manager had come out to meet her. "You're hired," he said kindly. "You can start tomorrow if you want." Linda left Rosie's cafe with a small spark in her heart. It wasn't much, but it was hers. That evening, she sat in Susan's guest room, her feet in a warm tub of water, and a slice of buttered toast on her lap. Susan sat beside her, watching a game show on mute. "You okay?" Susan asked. Linda nodded slowly. "I think I'm done crying." "Good," Susan said softly. "You deserve peace." Linda looked out the window. Maybe she had lost a house, but she had found something better. The strength to stand. The courage to begin again. 3 weeks had passed. Linda wiped sweat from her forehead as she placed a plate of pancakes on a customer's table. "Here you go, sweetie," she said with a warm smile. The little boy grinned. "Thank you, ma'am." Linda turned and headed back to the counter, her black apron a little stained from syrup and coffee. Her feet ached, her back was sore, but her heart, it was steady. For the first time in years she felt alive. She belonged somewhere. People saw her, greeted her, smiled when she poured them hot coffee or asked about their day. The bell above the cafe door jingled. Linda looked up, and her heart nearly stopped. There he was, Ryan, her son. He looked tired, ill. His shoulders were slumped. His hands were jammed deep into his coat pockets. "Hi, Mom," he said quietly. Linda kept wiping the counter. "Didn't expect to see you here." He stepped closer, looking around awkwardly. "This place is nice." She raised her eyebrow. "Did you come to eat?" "No," Ryan said. "I came to talk." Linda nodded at a table near the window. "Then sit. I've got 5 minutes." He sat and she joined him. Her hands stayed folded on the table. "I'm sorry," he said first. "We didn't mean to hurt you like that." Linda didn't respond. She just waited. "I didn't think it would go like this," he continued. "Chelsea and I thought you'd agree to the senior home. We thought you were tired." "I was tired," Linda said softly. "But not of life. I was tired of being used." Ryan looked down at his hands. "I didn't know you'd stop the mortgage. I told you I would." He looked up, desperation in his eyes. "We're stuck, Mom. We tried to get a loan to fix the roof before selling, but the bank flagged us. They said our payment history changed. The house won't sell fast. Oakwood Hills won't hold the spot. We're falling behind." Linda stared at him. "And what do you want me to do?" "Please," he said. "Start paying again. Just for a few more months until we can sell. Then we'll give you something. A piece of the sale." Linda tilted her head. "A piece?" "Yes," he said quickly. 10%. Maybe even more. "We're sorry. We're trying to make it right." Linda took a deep breath. "Do you think I'm doing this for money?" Ryan opened his mouth, but no words came. "I'm not," she continued. "I'm doing this because you forgot who I am. I raised you. I paid bills when your father lost his job. I skipped dinner so you could eat. I stayed when your wife wanted me gone. And then you put my life on the sidewalk." Ryan's face turned red. His eyes were glossy now. "I was scared," he whispered. "Chelsea. She said you'd be fine in the garage. I didn't fight her." "You let her do it," Linda said. "You chose not to fight." Ryan looked around. His voice dropped lower. "What if we gave you the house? Just signed it back over to you? Would that fix it?" Linda smiled faintly. "Now that you've seen what it's like without me, you want me back." He looked hopeful. "So, will you help us?" She stood up and placed a hand gently on his shoulder. "Meet me tomorrow," she said. "At the lawyer's office. Bring Chelsea. Bring the papers. My friend's nephew Brian will be there." Ryan looked confused. "The lawyer?" Linda nodded. "I want everything clear this time. No more favors. No more secrets." Ryan gave a slow nod. "Okay. We'll be there." Linda walked away, picked up the coffee pot, and smiled at a couple waving her over. She didn't look back. Not this time. The next day, Linda walked into Watson and Gray law office holding her head high. Brian stood beside her in a crisp blue suit. He carried a file in one hand and confidence in the other. Ryan and Chelsea were already there, whispering fiercely in the corner. Chelsea's face twisted when she saw Linda. "We're only here because we want peace," she said. "Let's get this over with." Linda didn't flinch. "Good. Then listen closely." Brian opened his file and placed copies of mortgage records on the table. "My client, Linda Harris, continued paying on this property for 2 years after signing the house over to her son and daughter-in-law. That constitutes financial interest." Chelsea rolled her eyes. "We didn't ask her to pay." "She has proof that you knew," Brian said calmly. "Texts, emails. You thanked her. That's enough to prove you accepted the arrangement." Ryan rubbed his forehead. "What does she want?" Linda looked them in the eyes. "I'll lift the lien. I'll finish the payments. I'll clear everything with the bank." Chelsea's eyes lit up. "But," Linda added, "you sell the house back to me. At the amount left on the mortgage. No more. No less." Chelsea's mouth dropped open. "What? That house is worth 3 times that." Linda nodded. "I know. I helped build that value. With money repairs memories. I'm not paying for my own life again." Chelsea slammed her hand on the table. "This is robbery." Brian didn't even blink. "Actually, it's fair. And legal. We can go to court if you'd rather wait 6 to 9 months. During that time, your credit will continue to sink." Ryan looked defeated. "What happens if we agree?" Linda leaned forward. "I buy the house. You take what you can and go. I finish what I started. But this time I live in peace." Silence filled the room. Then Ryan slowly nodded. "Okay." Chelsea hissed. "This is a mistake." But she didn't walk out. Resign. As Linda walked out of the office with the papers in her hand, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Power. Not power over others, but the power to choose herself. She had been cast out, disrespected, forgotten. But she didn't crumble. Arose. Linda stood in the living room of her old house. No, not old. Her house. Sunlight poured in through the front window, touching the worn carpet and faded walls. The silence felt different now. Not empty, but peaceful. All the furniture was gone. Chelsea had made sure of that before leaving, but Linda didn't care. She had her own chair now, a second-hand table, and a kettle that whistled when it boiled. She had her space, her choice, her peace. For the first few days, Linda walked from room to room like she was meeting an old friend. The bedroom where she and Thomas had shared dreams. The hallway where Ryan had taken his first steps. Even the crack in the kitchen wall, they all told stories. But this time they weren't heavy. They were hers again. She had used part of her savings to repaint the living room. Soft yellow, warm and kind like morning light. And every morning before her shift at Rosie's Cafe, she brewed a cup of tea, sat in her new armchair by the window and whispered, "Thank you." Not to anyone in particular. Just to life. To herself. To the strength she never knew she had. At Rosie's, Linda was quickly becoming a favorite. "Linda, you made my eggs perfect again," a man called out from booth 3. "You should be in charge," said another. Linda just laughed and refilled their coffee. She didn't want to be in charge. She didn't want fame or power. She just wanted to belong. And she finally did. Even the younger workers, like Maria and Jason, came to her for advice. "Linda," Maria whispered one day, "how do you stay so calm?" Linda smiled. "I've been through storms, honey. After that, the rain feels small." She didn't tell them everything. Not yet. But her eyes carried the story. And somehow they all listened. One chilly morning, as Linda left her house for work, she found a letter in her mailbox. It was from Ryan. The envelope was thin. Just 1 page. "Dear Mom, I know I don't deserve your kindness. Messed up. Hurt you. I let someone I love down, and I didn't fight for you when I should have. You didn't just pay bills, you held us together. And I didn't see it until it was almost too late. Chelsea and I are no longer together. She says I let you win. But I don't think anyone lost here. Except the person I used to be. I hope someday I can earn a place back in your life. Love, Ryan. Linda held the letter for a long time. She didn't cry. Not because it didn't hurt, but because she had already healed. She folded it, placed it in her drawer, and went on with her day. One evening, Susan stopped by Rosie's cafe. She sat at the corner booth, sipping sweet tea as Linda cleaned up. "You're glowing," Susan teased. "It's sweat," Linda laughed. "No," Susan said. "It's peace. You wear it like a crown." Linda joined her. "You saved me that night. I don't know what I would have done without you." Susan waved a hand. "You were never broken, Linda. Just forgotten. You remembered yourself. That's the hard part." Linda stared out the window. "I thought I needed them," she said. "I thought I was only useful if I kept giving. But now I know. My worth doesn't come from what I do for others." Susan nodded slowly. "It comes from who you are." They sat in quiet agreement. Two women. Two warriors. Sharing a table and a moment. Weeks turned into months. Linda used her cafe tips to slowly buy back furniture. Not fancy things, but things she chose. A bookshelf filled with old mystery novels. A soft quilt in her favorite shade of green. A photo frame of her and Susan laughing in front of the cafe. She even put up a new sign near the front door. "You are always welcome here." One Saturday, she hosted a small dinner at her house. Brian came, bringing homemade pasta. Maria brought a cake. Jason played songs on his guitar. They filled the rooms with laughter. Not like the old days. Better. These people didn't see her as a burden. They saw her as a friend. Months later, Linda got a knock at her door. She opened it, and there was Ryan. Alone. Holding a small plant in a pot. "I don't want anything," he said. "I just wanted to see how you were. I brought this. You used to love these." It was a lavender plant. Linda took it, surprised. "Thank you." Ryan stood there awkwardly. "You look happy." "I am," she said softly. "Are you?" He looked down. "Not yet. But I'm working on it." Linda nodded. "That's a start." He turned to leave but paused. "Can I visit again? Maybe next time, bring groceries." Linda smiled. "Maybe." He smiled too and walked away. She watched him go, not with anger but with peace. Not everything broken needed to be fixed right away. Some things needed time. And that was okay. That night, Linda lit a candle in her living room. She curled up in her chair, sipping warm tea, watching the candle's flame dance gently. Her phone buzzed. A message from Susan. "You're stronger than most people ever will be." Linda smiled and replied. "I finally know that. I finally feel that." Because the truth was simple. They had put her bags on the sidewalk. They had offered her a mattress in a cold garage. But she had turned that pain into power. She had found her way back to herself. And in doing so, she had found something even greater. Freedom.